Wow. Good morning, church. It is good to see you here this morning. Luke chapter 16 is where the text is for this morning. I want to read just a verse or two, and then I'm going to introduce someone who is going to tell you about a really cool ministry here in town. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. That's it. That's all you get for now. We talk a lot about kingdom here, and we talk about the fact that kingdom is not us. Kingdom is much broader. And I am very excited today that Dr. Amelia Moore is here with us today. She is here by herself. Her family is not here. Her husband is playing piano at College Heights Baptist Church this morning, and her kids are there. She has 4 kids. I've gotten to know the oldest one because he's one of the students of the month at Rotary. And I have been able to hear Dr. Moore talk about the food pantry, food distribution program, this ministry that's happening right here in Plainview. And after we heard about this at Rotary in January, Kenneth Hooper and I talked to the elders about we need to hear about this and we need to be involved. So I've got one question for you. This is interactive. First of all, let me make sure everybody can do this. Raise your hands. Raise your hands, everybody. Okay, now then, here's the question. I want you to raise your hand if you have the ability to push a grocery cart and put your groceries into it. Look around. Keep it up. Keep your hand up. Look around. Look at all the volunteers. This is awesome. So I'm going to let Dr. Amelia Moore come and tell us about this program. You can put your hand down now. Going to tell us about this kingdom work that's happening right across town.
Thank you. Good morning, church. First of all, thank you for letting me be here. You guys were so welcoming. From the moment I came through the door, everybody was just really friendly and introduced themselves to me. And so thank you for just letting me be part of your worship service this morning. As Steve mentioned, I'm here to tell you about the College Heights Food Pantry. So we're at 802 Quincy, just down right across the street from Wayland. And we're open every first, third, and fifth Monday of the month to distribute food to those in our community. So before I give you some numbers, I wanted to, make sure, okay, there we go. I wanted to share some verses with you guys. So if you've got your Bible, if you just want to read up there, I know that when I was standing in the back, I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to read that. So if you can't read it from the screen, you're welcome to read from your Bible, or you can just listen. But Deuteronomy 15:11 says, "For there will never cease to be poor in your land. Therefore I command you, you shall open wide your hand to your brother, to the needy and to the poor in your land." And then, again, this is really tiny. So, but Isaiah 58:1-11. This is a long passage, but just bear with me. "Cry aloud, do not hold back. Lift up your voice like a trumpet. Declare to my people their transgression, to the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as if they were a nation that did righteousness and did not forsake the judgment of their God. They ask of me righteous judgments. They delight to draw near to God. Why have we fasted and you see it not? Why have we humbled ourselves, and you take no knowledge of it? Behold, in the day of your fast you seek your own pleasure, and oppress all your workers. Behold, you fast only to quarrel and to fight, and to hit with the wicked fist. Fasting like yours this day will not make your voice be heard on high. Is such the fast that I choose, a day for a person to humble himself? Is it to bow down his head like a reed, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Will you call this a fast and a day acceptable to the Lord? Is this not the fast that I choose? To loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover him, and not to hide yourself from your own flesh. Then shall your light break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up speedily. Your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry, and he will say, Here I am. If you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger, and speaking wickedness, if you pour yourself out for the hungry and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then shall your light rise in the darkness, and your gloom be as the noonday. And the Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your desire in scorched places and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water, whose waters do not fail. When I look at that verse, it's so convicting to think about so many times we go through the motions of all the wonderful things that God has told us to do, but we forget the poor and the hungry. And that is how we can be the light to our community. That is what we have been called to do. And so when people ask me, so why do you do this? This is why, because God has told us to. He has told us that this is the way that we reach his people, or people for him. A lot of our clients that come are believers, and we have an opportunity to encourage them in their time of need. And a lot of our clients are not believers, and we have an opportunity to show God's love to them through just being there. We have had so many clients say, I can't believe you guys are here and you're doing this, and especially since we don't close for weather. It could be snowing, it could be raining. We had days when it was like, negative, single digits and wind chill, and we were still out there. And those are the days that the clients come out to us and say, I appreciate, I hope you know how much what you're doing means, because they see that they are being loved. And that is how we are able to just share Christ's love with our community. But why? Because he tells us to. It's that simple. It's over and over in scriptures. There's examples of God saying, feed my needy, feed my poor, take care of people. That is what he's done for us, and that is what we are called to do in his name. And so we have been in operation for almost 8 years now. We opened in August of 2017. So just to give you a quick history of our pantry. Back in 2017, so this started as the Stonebridge Fellowship Food Pantry. When our church, Stonebridge Fellowship, moved into a bigger facility, we had the space to start new ministries, and it had always been a passion of mine to serve those in need through food programs, through homeless shelters. And so when we finally had the space in our church building, it was like, yes, this is the time. And so I approached our elders, and they were extremely excited about the idea of starting a food pantry. And so we went through the process of applying. We are an organization under the Amarillo High Plains Food Bank. And so we went through the process of applying through them, of getting sort of our license to be a food pantry. And in August of 2017 is when we officially opened our doors. And the first distribution was a bit of a learning curve, I guess I could say. We were told not to advertise because if we advertised, we were going to be overrun with clients the first day and we weren't going to know what to do. So we didn't. We did not advertise. We just kind of let it happen. And so that first day, we had a truckload of food and 4 families show up. And so it was a little bit kind of disappointing because we're thinking, well, so we started calling everybody we could think of. Hey, do you need food? We've got food. And so slowly, the next week we had 30 families, and the next week we had more, and so it didn't take long for the word of mouth advertising to really do its job, and we started seeing more and more clients. And so as you can kind of see in 2021, we saw 2,600 families. In 2022, it was almost the same, right? Not much difference. We saw about 2,700 families. So not a whole lot of change between those 2 years. In 2023, we saw 3,800 families. And then this past year, we saw 6,400 families. And so just to kind of give you a comparison, that means that in 2024, we saw as many clients as we saw in 2022 and 2023 combined. And this growth has continued. It's not. I keep thinking at some point we're just going to level off, and it's just not. So far, we're not leveling off, and so we're continuing to grow, which is why it's been such an important mission of mine to go and talk to as many people in our community as I can about our ministry, because we can't do it alone. I got to talk to some of you guys this morning, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody mentioned, each church can't do everything. It's just not going to happen. But if we partner together, we can do more together than we can separately. It's kind of like, when my husband and I, 20-something years ago, were talking about getting married, the idea of, can we do more together than we can as the sum of individual efforts? And that's the same thing here. Can we as churches do more together than each one of us can by ourselves? So again, just kind of so you can see, we're impacting all of Plainview and the neighboring communities. We are by far the biggest pantry in this area, and so we have clients that come all the way from Hill Center, Olton, Happy, Floydada, Lockney, because even though some of those smaller communities have their own pantries, they're nothing compared to sort of the size of ours, and so they still come to ours for assistance because they can't get nearly as much help in their local food pantries than they can with us. And if you're looking at these and you're like, oh, I know who lives there, addresses are approximate. These dots are meant to give you okay, there is a client in like this area, not this is a person's specific address. So please don't use it to be like, oh, my neighbor gets, we have to make sure we're protecting the privacy of our clients. So again, I don't know how well everybody in the very back can see, especially the yellow curve, but so this is just kind of those numbers I shared with you earlier, but on a graph, just because they're easier to see on a graph. So you can see how we're just constantly growing. That yellow line, that's this year. And we've gone from, a couple years ago, we were serving on average, 100 or so families, 100 to 150 families per week. We're serving over 300 per week, and that's been consistent. We have just had to go ahead, and we tried kind of partway adjusting, where we would go, okay, well, let's prepare for like 250 families. And every week we were seeing over 300. So we went ahead and we said, okay, we're going to keep preparing for over 300 now because we're just seeing that many clients. So I mentioned that we don't stop, we don't close down our pantry, because we know that since we're only open that first, third, and fifth Monday, if we close for whatever reason, that's 2 weeks at least that family is going to have to wait for food. And so whether it's raining or snowing or whatever it is, I know those things don't happen a lot in Plainview, but they just seem to happen on a Monday. I love these pictures here because I don't know how well you can see, but in that top left and bottom right, it is pouring. And our volunteers were out there in the pouring rain, and one of our teams is the prayer team, and we find that that's our most important team, is because those are the guys that go out there and ask the clients, is there anything that I can be praying for you about? And those are the guys that could have, right, just stayed inside that day and said, you know what, it's raining, we'll do it, we'll go back out there next week. The people that really need to be out there are the ones loading the cars, and just said, let's just skip the prayer this week. But they didn't. They went out there in the pouring rain, and they continued to pray with our clients. And that's what meant the most to the people coming through, that we didn't just say, well, that's okay, here's your food, bye. They still had an opportunity to be heard and be prayed for. We have a volunteer, the lady in the top left picture, if you could see her in person, she and I look a lot alike. Everybody always confuses us for sisters. We're not related in any way, but our clients think that we are each other. And so my job, I typically check in our clients. So we have a spreadsheet that we check them in to say, if you've been here before, it's just like putting a little X to say you're here. If they haven't, then I help them fill out the paperwork. She is on the prayer team. And so without fail, every week, I'll have clients that will come up to me in the parking lot and say, hey, let's pray. Can you pray for me like right here and right now? And I'm like, oh, absolutely, let's do it, let's go. But I'm pretty sure you're thinking I'm Lisa. and then they get to Lisa and they're like, oh, I thought we just prayed. Oh, never mind, let's pray again. But people ask us specifically, hey, I want to pray. I want you to pray for me, and they seek us out, sharing their life story with us. And I love our prayer team because my daughter has recently, she's 12, and she recently joined our prayer team, and her first time doing it, she was overwhelmed. She came to my husband afterwards, and she was like, Dad, and she's in tears. She's like, the stories I heard, and our clients have so much going on in their life, and they want to share. They want somebody to come and pray with them. They want to know that they are not alone. And so we got to talk to my daughter and just kind of ask her, are you okay continuing this? Because this is a lot. I know, because I used to be the one praying with our clients. I know, the things you're going to hear. And she was like, no, I want to do this, And so it's been amazing to see, because she was, she was 4 when we first started the food pantry. And so she's been, this has been her life. She doesn't remember life without food pantry. And my 2 youngest boys, because they're homeschooled, the other 2 are in public school, so they're there with me all day long. And so on Mondays, they're like, is it a food pantry Monday? And they're ready, they know, right? It's, okay, we're gonna be there, this is what's gonna happen. But it's been so neat to have my whole family involved in this, because it has been, as you'll see in a minute, there's a job for everyone. My little boys, who are 6 and 9, are there all day, and they have a job. And my teenager, who is a high school senior, who's been doing this almost all his life as well, he's got a job where he's doing more physical activity type stuff. But there's something for everyone. And so when Steve was saying, hey, raise your hand, there really is. Even if you didn't raise your hand because you can't fill up a shopping cart with groceries, we still would have a job for you as well. So this is just going to kind of play you some pictures of our distribution as I kind of tell you how the distribution works. But something that Steve had mentioned in one of our conversations, and I have heard this from so many others that have come to our food pantry to volunteer, pictures don't do it justice. And so really, I want you guys to see kind of the scope of it. We take over the entire gym of the church on Mondays. But even just the pictures don't show just exactly what goes on a Monday. But on Mondays, we have a truck that comes during the day to bring us fresh surplus from the local supermarkets and from the Amarillo warehouse. And we're talking, all those pallets that you see, that's the surplus. So we get recently about 13 to 15 pallets. And so you can kind of see how those things are as tall, as one of these doors. They're 4 feet by, 3.5 feet. They're big. And all of it is just random stuff that hasn't sold or has been donated to the Amarillo Food Bank. And so it's not some of it is just you have a whole pallet of apples. And those are great because we can just be like, okay, yay, it's all the same stuff. Let's just, we just put it into the boxes and we're done. Most of it is not. It's, Steve was there. We had a pallet that was, we had a pallet on top of a pallet. And the top pallet just had random, it had breads and desserts and deli items, those ready meals. And I mean, it all had to be, it was way too heavy to just lift the whole thing. So we got to climb up in there and, I just had people around it and was handing okay, this goes with the desserts, this goes with the breads, this goes, and that's the job for during the day. During the day, we sort all of that stuff and put it into boxes. So like I mentioned, now we prepare for about 350 families. So we set out that many empty boxes on the tables and we just fill them up. So we make sure that, okay, the pallet got sorted, we've got a basket of meats, you go and put one meat in everybody's box. You go and put some veggies in everybody's box, and so on and so forth with everything. So those trucks bring us meat, fruits, veggies, bakery items, and those just have to be sorted and put into boxes. And so on Sunday nights, so this afternoon, we'll be getting together to pack bags of non-perishable items. And so we get just those paper sacks from United and fill them up with peanut butter and canned goods and rice, beans, whatever it is that we can purchase from the Amarillo Food Bank. So the surplus that comes on a Monday, that's free of charge. But all the non-perishable items, we purchase that through our church budget and grants and gifts. So in 2021, we spent about like $200 for the whole year for food, okay? Last year, we spent over $13,000 on food, okay? Now, our church, we're part of our church's budget, but we get $3,000 from the church, and that's very generous. I know you're a church, you know when you're making a budget, especially lately, then you have to decide where's your money gonna go, and so $3,000 is a very generous thing. So where does the other $10,000 come from? Well, grants and donations from the community. Recently we had a church member's mom passed away, Ms. Frances Sams, and her family chose to have people donate to our food pantry in her memory. And that was amazing because so many people got to receive food and hear about Christ through those gifts. I write grants all the time. We get help from the Plainview Area Endowment, the Community Foundation of West Texas, all of that. So anyways, that's to say there are financial needs that we have to continue to do this. Because as we see more and more clients, of course, we're having to buy more and more food, and hence our expenses are increasing. All of our people are volunteers, including me. We don't have any paid staff. We don't have any other expenses other than food. Last year we received a grant and we were able to buy a shed, and it's been so amazing because now we have a place to store all of our carts that you saw, that get pushed around, because since we use the church's gym, we have to be kind of creative as to where we store our food because the gym gets used during the week, and so being able to take those carts and store them in a shed means that we now have more space inside of the building to store our non-perishable items and so on. So anyway, so Sundays we pack bags of non-perishable foods, which is kind of what a client would get if they went to fish, right? If you're familiar with Faith and Sharing House here in Plainview, when a client goes there, they get a bag of non-perishable items. So this is just a cool picture of some of our volunteers, but so some of our volunteer opportunities. So packing bags on the weekends, like I said, that's what we'll be doing this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Sorting that surplus, that is the iffiest one because what happens with that one, I text our driver on Monday morning with, "Good morning, it's me again. What time do you think you'll be here today?" And at some point, whenever he's able to, he texts me back and says, "Well, today it'll be 11:30, noon, 2, 3. Like when the Rotary came, we just kind of stood around because, I told them all, well, let's plan it for 11:30. Then he said, well, between 12 and 12:30. So they got there at 12 and he showed up at 1. And so that's the one that's really the hardest to predict and that's the one that we need the most help with because it's literally pallets and pallets of food that needs to be sorted. So the way that we try to organize that is you can see that little blue QR code up there. That's our volunteer group me. And so if any of you are interested in volunteering with us, that is a way that you can just join our group me. You're not committing to anything. You're not signing your life away. But that way you can get all of my messages of, hey, truck is coming at noon today, or truck is coming at 3 today. And that way you know when to come and when we could use you. Handing out food, that is always at 5:30 on a first, third, and fifth Monday. I usually recommend that our volunteers come a few minutes early just so you can eat dinner with us and kind of get your job assignment or you're ready to go at 5:30 and you're not kind of feeling like, whoa, I don't know what's going on. Helping us clean up on Monday nights. Because we do take over the whole gym, it takes time to then put that gym back together to, operational for the next day. Our custodian is amazing. I don't know how he does it, how he has that gym looking spick and span the next day, but because we do our best, but it is still a mess when we leave out of there. So putting away all those tables, putting all the boxes away, saving the boxes for next week, all of that. There's a lot going on still on Monday nights. Organizing a food drive. We have the ability to buy food at 16 cents a pound, which is a fantastic deal from the Amarillo Food Bank, but their shopping list is dwindling. Just like most, food assistance places, they're struggling in terms of inventory. And so if you ever want to just have a food drive to benefit our food pantry, we will never say no to food. contributing financially, whether that's you as a church or you as an individual. We are always looking for people to help with that. Paper sacks. If you go to United and they ask you paper or plastic, say paper. And then just save your paper bags and tell Steve that you've got a set stack and I'll come and get them. We have an agreement with one of their managers that they donate a bale of 300 sacks once a month, and then we purchase one from them once a month. But on months like this month, where we have a first, a third, and a fifth Monday, we still need an extra 350 sacks. And so we're always needing more of those. And then be in prayer for our food pantry, for our clients. There's so much going on right now. A lot of them are very fearful for what's to come. And so this is a time when we really can just come alongside them and show them that they are cared for, that there are people here that have their back and that are not going to stop fighting for them. And so be in prayer for just the pantry and our clients. You all got the little card, hopefully. It's got all of these QR codes. So again, if you want to give, this QR code takes you to our church's giving website. Just make sure that in the notes you put food pantry. I know you are all very generous people, but you want this money to go to the food pantry, not just the church's operating budget. So make sure that you put a note there on that. And then the big one that I like to point out is the Feed Volunteers. If you scan that QR code, it takes you to a meal train for Monday nights. I mentioned that if you come early, you get to eat dinner with us. Well, somebody has to provide that meal. And it's been, our church members have kind of been taking turns providing meals. Now, you're providing a meal for about 40 people, 40 to 50 people. So it gets a bit, expensive, especially when, if you're ordering it, like, tomorrow, one of the ladies is ordering some Domino's pizza for us. And so it's just, having an extra person on that rotation just really helps everybody else because it gives them that extra week off from having to do that. So if it doesn't have to be a home-cooked meal. If you're willing to do that, we would always take that. But it's just, we have volunteers that are there all day. Some of us, we get there at 11:30 for that first truck, and we don't leave until 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And so it's just really helpful to have somebody provide a meal, and especially for those of us that have, little kids that are like, I'm hungry. Not that any of your kids ever did that, I'm sure. But and then the blue one for volunteering, if you want more information about when the truck is coming, what you can do, how you can help. But I really hope that you guys will think about kind of partnering with us. So I know I said that I would mention how it works, and I didn't do that. So let me do that real fast, and then I'll let you guys, because I know I'm standing between you and lunch. But so our clients park in, if you're not familiar with College Heights building, there's like several parking lots kind of around the building. And so there are 3 parking lots that are designated client parking, and we have a guy out there that points people to where to park. And we have people that line up as early as 11 o'clock. And we don't open till 5:30, okay? And 11 o'clock, like if you drive by our building and you see cars on a Monday, that's what they're waiting for, is they're waiting for that 5:30 distribution. But so people park in the parking lot, and then at 5:30 or sooner, if we have enough volunteers to get started early, they start coming down the alley. So at around 4:30, we have volunteers that go out into the parking lot to check them in. If they've been there before, it's a quick, easy, hey, you're here, because we already have them on file. If they're new, we go ahead and help them fill out a quick little name, address, family income. Because we do receive federal food, we go by the federal guidelines of income requirements per family. We don't have families in Plainview that make too much. We just don't. Everybody qualifies. But so we get them checked in, and they come down the alley, and that's where we have a team of the prayer team who prays with them while the other team loads up their vehicle. Okay, and so pretty much if you're on the loading team, you have a black cart that you push with food on it, and you go and load up their car, and there's a guy that tells you how many cart loads go into each car. You load up their food, and then you come back with your empty cart, and there's a team inside that loads the cart back up for you, depending on what all we had. They put the box and the bag, and I think last time we had milk and turkeys and things like that. So whatever, just you have a team whose job it is to load up your car, or the cart, and then you keep going and you load up another car, and you keep going in circles until either we run out of food or we run out of people in the parking lot. Now, we do make sure that even if we run out of like that fresh stuff, the meats and the fruits and the veggies, we always have plenty of bags of non-perishable food so that nobody ever walks away without food. And so because we never know, we don't pre-register, so we never know how many families we're going to serve that week, we make sure we have plenty of extra bags. And so nobody ever gets turned away. If you come, you're getting food. We also have a team of volunteers, the driver team. We can't provide deliveries just because, I mean, think about it. If you had the option of getting your food delivered or sitting in the parking lot from 11 o'clock till 5:30, what would you pick? Right, so that's why we can't offer deliveries, because then everybody would need a delivery, okay? But we do tell our clients, if you make it to us, we will get you home, okay? And so we have, and that team has grown, and I'm so glad, because we used to have just one driver that would take people, and when you have 40 people needing a ride, they were there forever because they're going all over town. We have some clients that are in Health Center, and we'll give them a ride to Health Center. And so now we have 4 teams of drivers, and their job is to just take, if you walked or you biked, they'll take you home with your food, make sure that you're home safe and sound. And so that's kind of how a Monday night goes, is we just keep going until we run out of clients. It used to be that, we would think, oh, we need to double up because we have too much food. Oh no, God continues to amaze me because I'm very much a planner. And so this whole idea of, I don't know who all is coming to volunteer, I don't know how many people are going to be here to get food, that makes me anxious because I like to know, right? Like my son is graduating high school and I'm like, come on. There are things to do and timelines to, and God is like, just trust me. I've provided, and He has provided in such amazing ways for those past 8 years. And every time, like I look around and I go, wow, we have volunteers. The week that the Rotary came, I had them look around because it was almost just Rotary. We had no other volunteers that day. And I was like, if the Rotary hadn't come, we would have been 2 of us pushing carts around, but God always provides. And He does the same thing with the food. It's like the loaves and the fishes. Somehow there's just enough food for everybody that comes. So, but anyways, I wanted to invite you guys to just, even if you don't want to be a long-term volunteer, come out once, just stick your head in. You don't even have to stake to help, I promise. I won't tie you down and make you help, but just stick your head in, see what it looks like. And decide if this is something that you want to be partnering with us on. Thank you, guys. I think that's it. There we go.
Hold that for if you want to. It's fascinating to see the process. You just heard, but to watch it and to be a part of it, it's amazing how much food comes in and out in a very short amount of time. And it's also fun. And the thing that I've heard Amelia say every time is, if you show up, you will leave with food. It doesn't matter. You're going to get food. I wonder how many times the rich man walked out of his house and complained about the guy sitting at the gate. This man who's a beggar, that they keep laying him at my gate. But his eyes weren't open to see that this really is a person, an individual created in the image of God, who is worthy of love and respect and honor. And I'm going to let you read the rest of the parable yourself. This parable is not about the afterlife. It's not about heaven and hell. This parable is about the Pharisees, who were upset with Jesus' previous parable about money because they liked money. Anybody else like money? Some of y'all are like, yeah. Y'all are like this when I said, can you push a shopping cart? Now you're like, I don't want to say that I like money because I know where that guy goes. Guess what? We like money. But they got mad at Jesus. It's very interesting to me, in between the 2 parables, we find a couple of things. If you take out the headings, you go right from Jesus, the Pharisees being upset after Jesus says you can't serve 2 masters. Either you'll hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And that's when they got upset. And if you take out the heading, the next thing Jesus says is the law and the prophets were proclaimed until John, and since that time the good news of the kingdom of God is being preached and everyone is forcing their way into it. It's easier for heaven and earth to disappear than for the least stroke of a pen to drop out of the law. And then he says something that sounds so completely bizarre that I've never known what to do with it, because all of a sudden he starts talking about marriage and divorce. Except he's talking to the Pharisees, and his message is, I think, and you can disagree with me on this, I think his message is to the Pharisees that you have divorced yourself from God and you have started being devoted to the money. He says, anyone who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery, and the man who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. That's not about marriage and divorce. This is about the Pharisees and how they have left God to chase after something else. And the next statement is, there was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. I think the day that I got to go help out, there were 318 families. "318 families in our viewing area came to get food." There is a need. And I can't not see Lazarus anymore. Okay? This is kingdom work. And I love the fact that we're able to have Amelia come and share this with us. And I want you to be encouraged. If you feel guilty today, okay. But you should feel encouraged because we have an opportunity to do great things here in Plainview, Texas. And we're not bound by the walls and we're not bound by the name. We have the freedom in Christ to join together to do good things. Be praying about this. Be praying about College Heights and this program, this ministry. It's not a program, it's a ministry. Be praying about the people that are coming for the food. And start praying, asking God, what is it that I need to be about? And I think you'll find yourself over on Quincy Street at some point. Okay? If you have a need today, we don't want you to leave here without us helping you with whatever that is. It may be prayer. You're surrounded by people that love you, that care about you. You don't know them, but they still love you and care about you and would love to pray with you. It may be a financial or a physical need. Let us know. There are generous people here who want to do kingdom stuff, which looks a little bit different than what maybe we've done historically. So if you have a need, let someone know. At this time, Kevin's going to come up and get close to wrapping us up, I think. Kevin's now the one standing between us and lunch, so